Sup, you beautiful bastards. Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing I want to talk about today are the incredibly troubling reasons why Jennifer Lawrence and Reese Witherspoon are in the news today. Both of them huge, successful actresses. They both attended the Elle Women event in Hollywood last night. And seemingly because of this Harvey Weinstein story, both of these women decided to share their experiences last night. Jennifer Lawrence sharing this experience.
When I was much younger and starting out, I was told by the producers of a film to lose 15 pounds in 2 weeks. Super easy. One girl before me had already been fired for not losing enough weight fast enough. And during this time, a female producer had me do a nude lineup with about 5 women who were much, much thinner than me. And we all stood side by side with only paste-ons covering our privates. After that degrading and humiliating lineup, the female producer told me I should use the naked photos of myself as inspiration for my diet.
Then going on to talk about a male producer in the room, Lawrence saying, quote, he said he did not know why everyone thought I was so fat. He thought I was, quote, perfectly fuckable. And around that whole experience, Lawrence said that she felt trapped, adding that she went along with it because she didn't want to be a whistleblower, that she felt like she had to do this for her career. And finally adding, I'm still learning that I don't have to smile when a man makes me uncomfortable. Every human being should have the power to be treated with respect because they're human. And then we had Reese Witherspoon share her story, and it was incredibly troubling. While speaking at the Elle Women event, she said, this has been a really hard week for women in Hollywood, for women all over the world, and a lot of situations and a lot of industries are forced to remember and relive a lot of ugly truths. I have my own experiences that have come back to me very vividly, and I find it really hard to sleep, hard to think, hard to communicate a lot of the feelings that I've been having about anxiety, honest, the guilt for not speaking up earlier. Then adding, I feel true disgust at the director who assaulted me when I was 16 years old, and anger at the agents and producers who made me feel that silence was a condition of my employment. Witherspoon going on to say she had multiple experiences of sexual assault. And as far as why she was going public now, she said, I actually felt less alone this week than I've ever felt in my entire career. I feel really, really encouraged that there will be a new normal. For the young women in the room, life is going to be different because we're with you. We have your back, and it makes me feel better. But that also leads us to the question of, will this actually change anything? What we've been seeing over the past week is the very public crucifixion of Harvey Weinstein. But from all the stories being shared now, whether it be around Harvey Weinstein, you have people like screenwriter Scott Rosenberg saying, no, it's true, everybody knew about Harvey. You've got men in the industry like James Van Der Beek and Terry Crews speaking about when they were sexually harassed and assaulted. And then you also have situations like with Reese Witherspoon and all these other women that have shared their horrible experiences. This 100% seems like a problem with the Hollywood system. You can kick out a Harvey Weinstein, but are you really changing anything? Because from all of these stories being shared, it seems like a majority or a hefty chunk of Hollywood is in on this. And I don't mean that, once again, around just the Harvey Weinstein situation. I mean the sexual harassment and sexual assault in the industry. But even in the exposing of a systemic problem, we're also seeing people not mentioning names. You can make symbolic moves like kicking Weinstein out of the Academy. Oh no! But as John Oliver and other people have pointed out, you have people like Roman Polanski that are still members of the Academy. A man who ran away from the United States because he was charged in Los Angeles with drugging and raping a 13-year-old girl. And it's not like he was accused. He pled guilty and then ran away. And so they have someone like that in their ranks, yet they issue a statement after Weinstein where they say that this is, quote, to send a message that the era of willful ignorance and shameful complicity in sexually predatory behavior and workplace harassment in our industry is over. Okay, you're making it sound a little bit like Harvey Weinstein is a vampire and that by smiting him, stabbing him in the heart with an Emmy-shaped stake, that all of a sudden the power of all the other vampires he's created or in the industry, they're now fixed or dead, they're gone. You know, they're like the hive mind alien in a movie where you just have to kill the queen and then there's no more threat. No, it doesn't look like the situation is over, and honestly, it feels like more heads are gonna have to roll for Hollywood to take this seriously. But with more and more people sharing their story but not naming people, I don't know if that's going to happen. But that said, that is my takeaway from this. I would love to know your opinion. Do you think what we're seeing here is the actual change of an industry, or do you think that this is in the spotlight now, but it's going to go back to the old ways very soon? And then let's talk about President Trump in the news. This specifically about President Trump talking about fallen soldiers and former presidents. Yesterday at a press conference in the Rose Garden, President Trump was asked why he had not addressed the recent deaths of American troops in Niger. 4 American soldiers were killed in Niger on October 4th in an ambush by suspected Islamic militants. White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders had previously told reporters that Chief of Staff John Kelly briefed Donald Trump about the attack the night it took place. And so many were wondering why the president did not speak publicly about these deaths.
I've written them personal letters. They've been sent or they're going out tonight, but they were written during the weekend. I will, at some point during the period of time, call the parents and the families because I have done that traditionally.
He then goes on to say sometimes you have to make 4 or 5 in a day. It's a very tough day, the toughest day. And then he says this.
So the traditional way, if you look at President Obama and other presidents, most of them didn't make calls. A lot of them didn't make calls. I like to call when it's appropriate, when I think I'm able to do it. They have made the ultimate sacrifice. So generally, I would say that I like to call. I'm going to be calling them. I want a little time to pass. I'm going to be calling them.
So the president says that about former President Obama, other presidents, but that also made a lot of people go, what is he talking about? There have been plenty of stories in the past about Obama, Bush, Clinton calling or being there for fallen soldiers' families. And so 8 minutes later in the Rose Garden, a reporter presses Trump on this issue.
Earlier you said that President Obama never called the families of fallen soldiers. How can you make that claim?
I don't know if he did. No. I was told that he didn't often, and a lot of presidents don't. They write letters. I do, excuse me, Peter, I do a combination of both.
And I think understandably so, a lot of people's response to that is, what are you talking about? 8 minutes ago, you said
President Obama and other presidents, most of them didn't make calls. A lot of them didn't make calls.
Then just 8 minutes later, when a reporter in the nicest way possible asked, was that statement bullshit, you say?
I don't know if he did. No. I was told that he didn't often, and a lot of presidents don't.
You're all over the place, man. This is a fact. Actually, I don't know if it's a fact. This is something I was told. You know what? Obama actually probably did it. Maybe sometimes he didn't. Then just saying other presidents didn't call. What are you talking about? And as you'd expect, there was a lot of backlash around these statements from Trump. Many also coming to the defense of former presidents. A former aide to Bill Clinton confirming that he called fallen soldiers' families. A spokesman for former President George W. Bush saying he called, if not hundreds, thousands of families. Reports also showing that Bush met privately with the families of fallen soldiers. Delilia O'Malley, whose brother died while serving in Iraq, tweeted, "At Real Donald Trump, when my brother was killed, President Bush listened while I screamed at him and then held me as I sobbed, you fat fucking liar." Retired Army General Martin Dempsey, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff from 2011 to 2015, tweeted, "POTUS 43 and 44 and First Ladies care deeply, work tirelessly for the serving, the fallen, and their families. Not politics, sacred trust." Another White House official from the Obama administration saying, "President Trump's claim is wrong. President Obama engaged families of the fallen and wounded soldiers throughout his presidency through calls, letters, visits to Section 60 at Arlington, visits to Walter Reed, visits to Dover, and regular meetings with Gold Star families at the White House and across the country." Alyssa Mastromonaco, former Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations under Obama, wrote, "That's a fucking lie. To say President Obama or past presidents didn't call the family members of soldiers killed in action, he's a deranged animal." Former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder Jr. saying, "Stop the damn lying, you're the president. I went to Dover AFB with 44 and saw him comfort the families of both the fallen military and DEA." Ben Rhodes, who served as Obama's Deputy National Security Advisor, tweeting, "This is an outrageous and disrespectful lie even by Trump standards. Also, Obama never attacked a Gold Star family." That, of course, referring to Trump in the past lashing out at Khizr Khan. Khan was the father of the soldier who was killed in Iraq who criticized Donald Trump. Then this morning when Trump was talking to Fox News Radio, he doubled down on his statement. Here's some of it, and of course I'll link down below to all of it.
One of the questions was about writing the Green Beret soldiers, and it ends up being a bigger story. Can I ask you what you thought about when you brought up past presidents and what they've done? Do you want to clarify anything
Well,
there?
there's nothing to clarify, because if you look at my whole, this was, again, fake news CNN. I mean, they're just a bunch of fakers. So they asked me that question, and for the most part, to the best of my knowledge, I think I've called every family of somebody that's died, and it's the hardest call to make, and I said it very loud and clear yesterday. The hardest thing for me to do is do that. Now, as far as other representatives, I don't know. I mean, you could ask General Kelly, did he get a call from Obama? You could ask other people. I don't know what Obama's policy was. I write letters, and I also call. But I really speak for myself. I'm not speaking for other people. I don't know what Bush did. I don't know what Obama did. You could find out easily what President Obama did. All you have to do is ask the military people. But I believe his policy was somewhat different than my policy. I can tell you my policy is I've called every one of them.
And for those that don't know, General Kelly's son Robert died in 2010 while serving in Afghanistan. Then following this, we had an unnamed White House official saying that Obama did not call General Kelly, but also with that, it was unclear if they reached out in some other way. As of right now, we don't know if there was a letter. Kelly himself has not issued a statement, although at this point, I don't even know if it's fair to expect a statement from him. He has now seemingly just been thrust into the spotlight on this story, and it's around his son who is dead. So as of recording this video, without a statement from him or his family, we don't don't know the full situation. We do know at the very least, and we don't know if this is the only interaction. Outside of waiting for that statement, we do have reports that White House visitor records show Kelly did go to an Obama breakfast, one that Obama was hosting for Gold Star families. According to an anonymous source, the Kelly family sat at Michelle Obama's table. But ultimately, that is where we are right now, and I just kind of feel disgusted about the situation. For me personally, it feels like General Kelly, the pain that his family has had to go through, the death of a son, it's being used like a tool, like a piece on a chessboard for a situation that really shouldn't have happened. Because the only reason the General Kelly's situation, his family's pain, has been thrust into the spotlight is for some reason President Trump wanted to say he was doing something that other presidents didn't. And then when called out on that, he's like, well, I don't know. I just know what people tell me. And so ultimately what we're looking at here, there's a range. We either have Trump making a broad blanket statement about former presidents and specifically Barack Obama based off of a call that may or may not have happened or an interaction that may or may not have happened with General Kelly and Obama. Or the other situation is President Trump is just saying stuff, which may also be the case because he has effectively changed the conversation in the questioning. Everyone's talking about whether what he said about past presidents, if that's true or not, here's the evidence to it not being true. But we never really got an answer to the original question. Why haven't we heard anything from you so far about the soldiers killed in Niger? I mean, the soldiers were killed on the 4th. We don't hear from Trump on this until he's questioned about it on the 16th. Then he says, I wrote some letters, but he doesn't know if they've already been sent out or if they're going to be sent out. There's no real answer there. Either way, I think incredibly troubling, and there was no point to it. It's stuff like this that makes me feel like maybe President Trump's main thing isn't about serving the people, but it's more fuck Obama and I'm great. That said, that is my opinion here, and of course, I'd love to know your thoughts here. And then let's talk about huge international news coming out of Syria. Syria, as you most likely know, has been going through a civil war. It is a brutal conflict that has resulted in the deaths of many, the displacement of millions over the past 5 years. And while there are countless factions all fighting, it really breaks down into 4 main camps. You have the Syrian government forces of Bashar al-Assad, the Free Syrian Army, FSA, the Syrian Democratic Forces, the SDF, and ISIS. So why are we talking about the Syrian civil war today? Well, there's actually good news coming out of the region. The city of Raqqa has reportedly been liberated from ISIS. So why is that important? Well, Raqqa has been the capital of ISIS's self-styled caliphate for 3 years now. And during that time, thousands were forced to flee, and thousands more were forced into hardline Sharia law. I mean, the brutality by ISIS on these civilians, it was horrible. We're talking crucifixions, torture, the throwing of alleged homosexuals off of buildings. And Raqqa was seen as their impenetrable stronghold, a symbol of ISIS success. Fighting against ISIS in the east were the Kurdish Popular Protection Units, the YPG. The YPG is a Kurdish militia who began fighting ISIS when they started encroaching on Kurdish territory. The YPG eventually teamed up with isolated FSA units and other Arab militias, ultimately creating the SDF. And over the last year, the SDF, along with US airstrikes and artillery, have managed to take about 3,100 miles of territory from ISIS. The US seeing the SDF as the most reliable and safe coalition, giving them arms, vehicles, and military backing. And this has been a long battle. 5 months ago, the SDF was in a position to encircle Raqqa and lay siege. And we saw Raqqa pummeled for months by the SDF and US airstrikes. And finally, after months of fighting, the SDF was able to break through ISIS's outer defenses. And since that initial breakthrough, there has been fighting all throughout Raqqa. It's been street-to-street fighting, and success was measured in neighborhoods liberated. And then this morning, the SDF cleared out the last 2 major ISIS strongholds in the city, the National Hospital and the Municipal Stadium. SDF Brigadier General Talal Sello saying, everything is finished in Raqqa. Our forces have taken full control of Raqqa. The military operations in Raqqa have finished. But there are clearing operations now underway to uncover any sleeper cells there might be and remove mines. And this is huge news. This is a massive defeat for ISIS, or as we call them usually on the show, Goat Fuckers International. And this is obviously a big military victory, but people are also seeing this as a huge symbolic one. Raqqa was seen by many as ISIS's symbol of invincibility. And now Raqqa is just another city that they have lost, another defeat. A growing sign that ISIS is losing their war. Before Raqqa, one of their other big losses was the major city of Mosul in Iraq. But despite the good news, there is also the very negative, specifically the massive loss of civilian life. It's being reported for every ISIS fighter killed, at least 1 civilian was killed as well. On this note, we see many activist groups blaming US airstrikes, but the US counters this point, saying that ISIS is known for using civilians as human shields. Separate from civilian loss of life, there was also infrastructure damage. Reports saying there are almost no homes that are safe to live in right now. The estimate saying 50% of the city has been destroyed. Humanitarian groups Save the Children warning that refugee camps in the area are, quote, bursting at the seams. Adding conditions in the camp are miserable and families do not have enough food, water, or medicine. But it is not yet safe for them to go back, and many of their homes are now turned to rubble. There are also concerns that ISIS has mined the city heavily. As mentioned earlier, clearing operations are underway. But just this Monday, a YPG police officer was killed by an ISIS landmine. And overall, it's important to understand that while this is a huge victory, the fight against ISIS is going well, there is still a long road ahead. There are concerns that the factions that united will turn on one another. Having a common enemy doesn't make lifelong friends, it just makes temporary allies. And for just a small example of that, all you have to do is look to Iran. With the weakening of ISIS in the region, we're starting starting to see reports of small skirmishes between Kurds and Iraqis. But that is where we are right now. It'll be very interesting to see what happens next. But at the very least, I think we can all unite around the idea of fuck ISIS. There's a little less evil on the earth today than there was yesterday. And that's actually where I'm going to end today's show. I'd love to know your thoughts on this final story, the first one, anything in between. Let me know what you're thinking and why. And remember, if you liked this video, you like what I do on this channel, hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you missed yesterday's Philip DeFranco show, you want to catch up, click or tap right there to watch that. Or if you need something lighter, you want to watch the newest behind the scenes vlog, click or tap right there to watch that. But that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.